The island was first visited by my family in the summer of 1966. My parents, Henry and Grace, both of whom were New Englanders from Connecticut, were familiar with the island and rented a cottage at the end of North Beach Street near the Cliffside Beach Club and the jetties. It was named the Dinghy, and we stayed there for a few weeks that summer. I recall the 4th of July fireworks, which were set off at Jetties Beach, seemingly on top of our little house, which my father referred to as the Dingy. My father was an Episcopal minister at St. Thomas's in Washington, D.C., and he had a parishioner by the name of Yvonne Cosby, who, in the summer of 1967, made a gift to the church by renting a boathouse on Old North Wharf named Peru. This was for my family to vacation in. Boathouse Peru became synonymous with home as we spent our summers on the wharf. Mrs. Cosby had paved the way for a lifelong love of the island. We also had another friend named Lila McKnight. She was from Washington, D.C. as well, but was a descendant of the Starbucks family, one of the original families in Nantucket, and also had close relatives in the Folger family. Before long, the Brules were part of the Nantucket summer scene, making friends with the Lochtefelds, the Anastases, the Brennans, the Davises, Margarita Sutro, Martha Walters, John Rugg, and all of the wharf rats. Peru was a unique place to stay, as it was a house on raised posts out in the harbor entirely over water. At night, as the ferry Nobska would arrive on the final leg of her run from Woods Hole, its searchlight would always bathe Peru as the captain got his bearings and prepared to back the boat into her berth for the night. I recall when the remnants of Hurricane Agnes hit the island as it moved up the coast, and the surge almost came into the house as water would shoot up between the floorboards when a wave passed underneath during a high tide. Eventually, the entire boathouse would be destroyed in 1992 by the storm surge created by the so-called perfect storm. In those early years, the island was calm and uncomplicated. It had not achieved its world-class destination status yet. From 1967 to 1971, Peru had no phone and no TV until the 1990s. It leaked and it creaked, but it was in the center of the harbor action and offered wonderful views. There was a hiatus for a couple of summers in the 1970s after my mother died, and Henry remarried to Sally McConnell. There were 2 summers spent at Virginia Beach, but soon the extended family was coming to the island. Henry and Sally returned and rented several different houses along the wharf, eventually getting back into Peru. Now the family had grown as 2 stepbrothers and their spouses were introduced to the island, and they would each periodically come for short stays. Over the course of those years, there were other Brules who frequented the island. David Brule was married there in 1982 and summered on the island with his family. My sister Lil and her husband Fred O'Rourke honeymooned on the island in 1977 in Lila's house on Orange Street. My wife Courtney and I did the same in 1990, also honeymooning in Lila's house. In the summer of 1991, the Brule clan was joined by my new in-laws, Art and Elaine Kelton of Vail, Colorado, along with Courtney's sister Ashley. They came to the island and stayed in Nautilus, another boathouse on the wharf just down from Peru. This began a series of summers where the Brules and the Keltons would all be on the wharf together. In 1992, as I had mentioned, Peru, like many structures on the island, was destroyed by the ravaging tidal surge and wind that was the result of a strong nor'easter that devastated much of the island. The house was eventually rebuilt, and in 1994, the family returned to a new Peru. It was slightly different in size and design, but maintained some of the quirks of the original boathouse. In 1996, Henry died, and Sally stopped coming to the island, but the Brule Kelton family continued to visit, always trying to stay on Old North Wharf. Now the extended Kelton family includes Vanessa and Gary Bennett and their 2 children, Nate and Kate, Ashley and Steve Seeger with their two daughters, Gabby and Josie. Add to this my two children, Caroline and Taylor, and the Nantucket brood is up to 14. Most recently, the clan has been staying out in Quidnet on the island's eastern edge. Quidnet is also visited by my cousins John and Nancy Brule in the autumn. For the Brules, the O'Rourkes, and the Keltons, the island has permeated our lives and our homes. Almost all of us have pieces of artworks from renowned Nantucket artists hanging in our homes. The remoteness and quiet beauty of the island is always something to be savored, even as more Learjets arrives, as the traffic jams compound, and hedge-ringed mansions spring up. There is still much of the island that is as it was, serene, and dare I say, quaint. It is a special place, which will forever remain a home away from home, a place that gives solace and nurtures one's soul.